Let's come out of Stour Space, turn right, but look left at the graffiti for comments on gentrification on Fish Island. New flats on the right. In the distance, a footbridge which we'll cross. Just before the footbridge is a marketing suite where it used to say, briefly, "Sorry, not sorry," in giant graffiti letters. Quite possibly the work of Edwin. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll turn right and we'll walk around the path on the edge of Hackney Wick by Duckett's Canal, meeting Hackney Cut. Then we'll come to a bridge where we can look back and see the Olympic Stadium from there, and on the right, the new post-Olympic London. 10,000 new homes, 2 new power stations, but pre-weathered to look old, with a pre-weathered rusty steel aesthetic, reminding us of the Tate, apparently. And directly in front of us on that bridge, which was a border with an electric fence and soldiers during 2012, literally dividing east and west like an iron curtain, an 18,000 volt electric fence. In front of us we'll see a white building called the White Building, and it was the first part of the built environment heralding the culturally led regeneration programme in this area. We'll walk through Queen's Yard, which was recently home to Mother Studios until they were priced out in a not very nice interaction, shall we say. We'll walk past Hackney Wick Overground Station, again pre-weathered steel, with its references in this huge concrete block that was wheeled in there underneath the railway tracks, which had been raised and put back in place. A very impressive operation, with its references inside to the industrial history of this area, molecules, chemical formulae, because this was a place of plastic, of rubber, of dye, of petrol, of paint. Dirty. A factory town. We'll walk past the famous Lord Napier Squat pub, with its riot of street art curated by Ada Wilde back in 2015, with its massive headline, "Shit House to Penthouse," painted high as a last act of resistance against the developers and the estate agents, painted high to last, to be seen, to be visible from the new and expensive, stunning luxury of the converted warehouse apartments. Not my words, but a lyric from Snapped Ankles. We'll go under the bridge, crossing into Hackney from Tower Hamlets. We'll walk to the corner, we'll see the Hackney Wick Hollywood sign. You've got to look up when you're here. And some of the best stuff, unfortunately, is behind closed doors. Laura May Lewis takes the credit for the Hackney Wick sign, the Hollywood sign. We'll turn right there, where there's a new block of flats, where there used to be a factory, where they synthesised the first plastic in 1864. We'll walk down that street, Wallace Road. On the left, we'll see a massive yellow mural, street art from Thierry Noir, the guy that painted the Berlin Wall. At the end of the road, we won't cross the canal again back onto the Olympic Park, but we will see the Copper Box Stadium visible in front of us. We'll see more giant street art, Martin Ron, Giant, Dale Grimshaw, Zabu, big names. Barometers of the changing nature of the Wick. And at the end of that road, where there's a giant turtle made from recycled rubbish, showing us how much we waste in this world before we've even thought about all the concrete that had to be made for the regeneration. We'll walk to the end of that street, we'll see the turtle, and we'll be at Grow. But on the way, I want to read just a couple of short quotes for you, because you have to see Hackney Wick and Fish Island as part of a much bigger project. This is the Thames Gateway, the way into London, encompassing Kent and Essex, and reaching into London as far as Deptford and Stratford. The Thames Gateway, Stratford International, the International Quarter, Kent on your doorstep. Artists and Tech Cities, Shin Jung Yo and Toby Miller, 2016, commissioned by Space Studios, who still have a presence here in Hackney Wick. They've been going since 1968. Basically, the UK government has made Shoreditch and surrounding neighbourhoods the Technology City flagship, exploiting the area's art and culture scene and branding artist lifestyles in order to forge a destination for cultural consumption and investment and entice multinational firms and elite labour. ... Quote, if there is a commonality between artists and technology workers, is that they are part of an increasingly precarious, casualised workforce living under the sign of creativity. So they're explicitly making the link between gentrifying artistic areas, San Francisco, London, New York, Berlin, and the tech sector, which it says comes afterwards, and then instrumentalizes culture with the rest of business to then sell it on to people in the form of workspaces and expensive flats. Not their words, so I should not their words. Not my words, should I say, theirs. It says they mentioned that a third of British artists earn only £10,000 a year, 66% of a living wage. They constitute part of a growing flexible labour force in the UK with no job security, company pensions, or other benefits. End quotes. So they, along with the academic Sarah Scarsbrook, who I'm just about to quote, challenge the idea that this is all organic and happening grassroots up. They're talking about these changes in Hackney Wick as part of a much bigger plan. Big deals, long-term policies. Sarah Scarsbrook, in her dissertation for her master's, talks about, she says that Tower Hamlets Council are more open about the benefits financially of regenerating the area and its arts than Hackney Council, by saying in 2011, there are opportunities to capitalise on the significant number of studios and businesses in the area to create strong character and identity, helping to give Hackney Wick Hub a unique selling point that could encourage visitors and promote further growth and investment. She quotes Alan Scott, 2000, in The Cultural Economy of Cities, saying, place, culture and economy are symbiotic on one another, and in modern capitalism, this symbiosis is re-emerging in powerful new forms as expressed in the cultural economics of certain key cities. Close quotes. She says, the overt connection between artists and cultural economics can be seen as a strong motivator in the context of today's urban planning in Hackney Wick. It can also be observed that the presence of artists in the regeneration of this region is equated with increasing investment into the area, particularly through the creation of an enhanced sense of place. Changing the outward identity of Hackney Wick is a desired outcome of the regeneration process being planned. So retaining the artists and their studio buildings are necessary in achieving these outcomes. Indeed, Anna Harding, in 2011, CEO of Space Studios, says, art, this is a quote, art being used as an attractive environment in which developers can build their towers. You've got fashionable looking cool people around. It's a branding thing, a destination thing. Close quotes. Look around you. What do you see? Wood, industrial decay, authenticity, cool people. Is it real? Is it fake? Is it old? Is it new? Is it a new version of the old? Is it an old version of what? Dr. Christine Wall, Westbury University. She talks about how the squats were very important in 1970s Hackney. Alternative living, something that flourished here in Hackney Wick as well. You could live communally, you could live differently, you could live cheaply, you could play. She says, talking of London Field squats, this historic spatial configuration of the city allowed the social and political movements of the 1970s to flourish, as groups of like-minded people began to live and work in close proximity. For women, it enabled radical experiments in collective living and shared childcare, and for some feminists active in the women's liberation movement, it provided the framework for an extensive network of women-only housing, together with social and political spaces. David Sloan Wilson, the philosopher and author of Does Altruism Exist? Culture, Genes and the Welfare of Others, in 2015 said, quote, All the activities associated with the arts can be really seen as a group solidarity mechanism. They're actually the mechanisms that cause groups to function as organisms. He's essentially saying the arts are how we communicate, how we process things, how we evaluate values and meaning in group space. It's how societies define themselves publicly, in a tradition that goes back to the Greeks. Now, I'm not suggesting, and this is me, Simon of Hackney Tours, that Hackney Wick was full of people who were all unemployed, but a lower rent environment where you were surrounded by other creative people, people who had time to make stuff, who would turn up your art show if you put it on, an environment sometimes longingly referred to as a village vibe by those who remember it at its height. This lent itself to people trying stuff. You could take risks. You could make an installation. If it wasn't quite what you wanted it to be, it hadn't cost you too much. Hackney Wick, or Hackney Wicked, the overt flourishing, the flower, or the mushroom, whatever you want to call it, the overt flowering of all that hidden creative mycelium under the surface. That was only a public tip of a creative iceberg. It's no coincidence that the reason I didn't move to East Berlin in 2009 is because I'd found Hackney and Hackney Wick. Space, play, experimentation, freedom from having to work 50 or 60 hours a week just to have a roof over your head, live work. All of these things were going on, creating a space that was special in the way that, at the height of the post-Mauerfall era in East Berlin, similar things were happening here. But there, should I say, sorry. And similarly, like East Berlin, those subcultures are now under threat. And spaces where you can gather and talk and make connections and have ideas and maybe collaborate. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to be there. They're under threat. The arts are how we critique the world around us, how we deconstruct, how we make meaning. We need them more than ever. Critical thinking. 2020, wow. We need critical thinking more than ever. We need spaces. We need catalysts. We need people to come together. We need arts spaces.